First-time liberal gun buyers are becoming conservative after buying their first gun. Hello everyone, this is Mr. Obvious, and today on the Washington Free Beacon, headline, first-time gun buyers explain how coronavirus changed their politics. A really interesting phenomena is occurring where first-time gun buyers, after discovering the immense difficulty of getting a gun, a lot of these people are liberal, a lot of them are Democrat, and a lot of them find themselves left-leaning politically. But they're finding out how difficult many people have made it to get a gun, namely Democrats in the political left, but also some Republicans. So we're going to talk about this story, and we're going to talk about how coronavirus is changing first-time gun buyers' politics, and how it could tip the scales of the political divide in this country. Now, before we read this story, if you're new to the channel, remember to subscribe and hit the bell button for notifications. If you're a regular viewer, consider giving this video a share. So let's begin. Scott Kane went 38 years without ever touching a gun. That streak would have continued had it not been for the coronavirus. In March, fearful of the harassment his wife and child experienced over their Asian ancestry, Kane found himself in a California gun shop. California is well known to be, a Democratic blue state. It is run by Democrats, its policies are Democrat, and all of the rules are Democrat. So I find it hard to believe that an Asian American would be singled out. But regardless of his claims' validity, what is true is that because of Democratic laws regarding gun ownership and gun control, he was in for a very sour surprise. His March 11th purchase of a 9mm would have been the end of the story, were it not for a political standoff over shutdown orders and background checks. Now Kane, former supporter of gun control measures and AR-15 bans, is frustrated by the arduous process that has denied his family a sense of security. The pandemic has made the soft-spoken software engineer an unlikely Second Amendment supporter. So in other words, you're only a liberal until it's inconvenient. Alternatively, my good friend, this is simply what happens. Democrats in modern day liberals, they go out, they congratulate themselves for being on the right side of history because they're liberal, they're leftists, they're obviously the good guys. And then they see these calls to ban our Second Amendment right, which the Constitution of the United States says shall not be infringed. They infringe upon those rights and vote for these policies, and then lo and behold, when they actually finally realize, you know what, maybe I need a gun for my own personal safety and the safety of my family, I want to get a gun. But I can't get a gun now because the laws are so ridiculous. I can't even get a weapon. And all of a sudden, the consequences of the things they voted for come crashing down on their heads. It's like pottery. Now, Scott Kane goes on to say, and I quote, "This has taken me, a law-abiding citizen with an nary an unpaid parking ticket, to my name over a month," he told the Washington Free Beacon. Meanwhile, Joe Bad Guy has probably purchased several fully automatic AK-47s out of the back of an El Camino in a shady part of town with zero background checks. I have no idea what he's even talking about by Joe Bad Guy. Is that some sort of pop culture reference I'm too cool to understand? But he has a point. In some places in America, namely red states that are Republican and right-leaning and conservative, well, it's much easier to get a gun in most of these states. But not in a blue state like California, because the people who live there vote to infringe their own rights. And this is the result. Receipts reviewed by the Free Beacon show that Kane first purchased a firearm on March 11th from Sportsman Warehouse in Milpitas, California. Santa Clara County shut down the shop before Kane's 10-day waiting period was complete. No end date was given for the order, but a California law giving buyers just 30 days to pick up a gun remained in effect. Kane was stuck in a legal limbo that only grew worse. But the story gets even better, folks. Unable to do business, the store went belly up in May. Kane had no way to pick up his gun. He started the process over and over again at another store in the neighboring county. He returned home with a Springfield XD 9mm with a biometric safe on April 29th, 50 days after he first passed his background check and paid for a gun. 50 days. Let's put this in perspective, folks. Let's say that you live in a neighborhood, right? Or you live in a house somewhere, and your house gets broken into repeatedly, and you fear for your life. This robber may harm you and your family, your little children, your daughter, your son, your wife, your husband, your family members. And you know what? You need to get a gun. But you live in a blue state. You live in California, so you wait 10 days, and the robber keeps coming in. Nobody can catch him. And then finally, a month later, you've got a gun, but oops, too late. The night before, the robber finally came in and slaughtered your entire family. Well, my friends, aren't you glad that you had those wonderful gun control laws? Because, those laws would keep you safe, and now you're dead, but it's okay because you're safe. Thank those liberal Democrats. Yeah, that's pretty much how it works, folks. I'm seriously thinking of running for office or something, Kane said. The state's gun laws are insane. Holy shit. Did a left-leaning liberal Democrat voter really just say that? Wow. This guy took the red pill. You see, anyone can take the red pill because all the red pill means is the truth and nothing more. It goes back to the Matrix movie about Neo, the man living in a simulation in a world that's not real. The red pill was simply the truth, that the world was fake. And the blue pill was blissful ignorance. It was going back to sleep, never realizing that the world wasn't real, and living in a fantasy. Red pills are the truth, blue pills are blissful ignorance. And blissful ignorance, and now, because of a pandemic, he's waking up, he realized, those words actually came out of his mouth. The state's gun laws are insane. You know, my friend, you kind of sound like a conservative now. Now, this is very interesting because this phenomena is not localized. It's happening all over the country. Kane is not alone. An influx of new gun owners has the potential to permanently alter the politics surrounding guns in the United States, and maybe even the political divide. We might see a wave of new Republicans and conservatives after this is all over. If industry estimates are correct, millions of Americans across the country have become first-time gun buyers since March. If the experience changes their mind about the ongoing debate over gun control, it could tip the balance of political power toward pro-gun activists and politicians. Not to mention, left-wingers realizing what their own laws actually do might rethink their political alignment. Maybe they'll move to the center. I mean, that's the most anybody could ask for. It's not that new buyers were unaware of the politics of gun control. Several new gun owners who spoke to the Free Beacon, some of who requested anonymity, citing safety concerns, generally lean toward enhanced restrictions, their positions informed mostly by major news stories. You mean the mainstream media is propaganda? I'm shocked. Yeah, that's something I've talked about for a very long time. The mainstream media is mostly just a propaganda machine. And when you have a situation where most media outlets are left-leaning, well, people are only getting one narrative. They're only getting one message. These people are being woken up. Here you can see it says, but as they have become more personally invested in the debate, yes, they find themselves more skeptical of gun control. A 40-year-old Floridian used his savings to buy a Smith & Wesson M&P Shield in March after being laid off. The experience changed his entire approach to Second Amendment issues. So here you can see how these people are changing their minds. He says in the past, the country suffered enough from guns and they wanted stricter gun control laws, no ARs, close the gun show loophole, better mental health regulations, etc., etc. But then he goes on to say, I would now oppose stricter gun control laws. And there it is. A lot of the first-time buyers who spoke to the Free Beacon are citing safety concerns stemming from the pandemic as their top reason for buying a gun. It is often the case that people who are left-leaning, liberal, Democrat, a lot of these people live in a fantasy land where good guys rule the world and bad things never happen. They're very sheltered. They believe that the government will protect them, the police will protect them, nothing bad will ever happen to them personally. They live in this false sense of reality that they're not responsible for their own safety. Therefore, they don't need guns. We have the police. Not realizing that if the government becomes tyrannical, or the police are oppressing you, or the police are corrupt, how do you defend yourself without a gun? You can't. The reason that Americans were granted the God-given right to bear arms by the founders of the Constitution and of America is because they knew what happened when the common citizen had no power to defend himself, to defend his rights, to defend his family, to defend his freedom. People take away that freedom. They take away your rights. They take away your family. Guns are the great equalizer. Aaron Eaton, a former Army MP and current sewer company technician in Alabama, said the increasingly hostile stance many in the Democratic Party have taken towards gun ownership helped push him to make the first purchase. I figured now's the time to buy before, God help us, a Democrat becomes president again. Then I would probably never get that chance again. The only view that has changed, and solely because I got into politics because of Donald Trump, is the stance that Democrats have regarding guns. I do not find it funny how Democrats are trying to interpret the Second Amendment. I love that quote. Now here's the important part, folks. The reason that these liberals are being red-pilled to become conservative is because they're starting to realize just how jacked up the left really is, how bad living in ignorance that actually is. I want you to listen to this. This is very important. Kane, on the other hand, said that his gun-buying ordeal hasn't moved him closer to supporting the president, but has moved him to consider the California Republican Party, perhaps even as a candidate. I salute you, good sir. You do what's right. Can you imagine what happens if millions of people who used to be left-leaning, used to be liberals, used to be Democrat, who opposed gun ownership, realizing just how jacked up the laws actually are, and how unsafe they are because of Democratic policies? Imagine if they were all to become more moderate, maybe even right-leaning, actually considering voting for the Republican Party. How could that tip the scales politically in this country? It would make more people conservative and less people liberal. But that's just how it is. A lot of people now are simply uncertain of the future, scared of what the future holds, and in that way, that's also a red pill because there's a lot of people out there who, again, believe that the status quo, aka everything's normal, I wake up, I go to work, nothing bad ever happens, there's never a national emergency. They think that that's real life, that the world is safe, that it's sunshine and rainbows. That's not true. Pandemics, crisis, emergencies, attacks, it could all happen in a flash, in a blink of an eye, just like that. And where will you be when it happens? Will you be prepared? You can either live life in blissful ignorance of how the world actually works, or you can take the red pill and embrace the simple truth. But that's merely the obvious. Well, that's all for now, folks. What do you think about this story? I think it's fascinating. I think it's hilarious seeing people wake up to the policies they voted for and realize that gun ownership is a very important right and needs to be protected, and that all of these gun control laws are just holding people back and hurting people and violating their rights. But let me know what you think. Now, as always, if you want to support the content, you can join me on Patreon or Subscribestar. If you want to donate, you can do so through DonorBox. There's Bitcoin. All that's down below too. And of course, if you like this video, consider giving it a share. Anyhow, thanks for watching. This has been Mr. Obvious. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all next time.